Welcome to Forum 360. I'm Stephanie York, your host today. Thank you for joining us for a global outlook with a local view. The West Akron Baseball League, or WABL as it is called, consists of youth baseball, youth softball, and co-ed t-ball teams. The league is open to all West Akron children ages 5 to 14 years old, but it's more than a place to learn to play ball. Today, we're here with Mike Deese and Matt Timbrook, former president and current president of the West Akron Baseball League, and we're here to learn about WABL and how it develops young kids far beyond what happens on the ball fields. Thank you, Matt and Mike, for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. So let's start with each of you telling us a little bit about yourselves, your background, and your connection to the West Akron Baseball League.
Go ahead, Matt.
Sure. Matt Timbrook, I'm current president of WABL. I've been part of the WABL board for about 5 years now, second year as president. I got involved with WABL when my son obviously wanted to join baseball, and we were actually living in a different part of Akron, and the signups were closed for that area. So it's like, where can my son still play t-ball? Well, the West Akron Baseball League makes it a point to be open to everyone in the community, not just West Akron. So I was able to get my son involved with WABL, and he grew up through that system, and I always told myself, oh, I'm too busy to coach, too busy to coach. Eventually, you realize everyone's too busy to coach, you just have to do it. Sure. And so I started coaching, and that led me to become part of the board around the COVID years. And since then, I've just done more and more for the board, and it's a really great organization, and I'm really happy to be spending time working to support the kids and boys and girls in Akron.
That's awesome. How about you, Mike?
I played in WABL as a kid.
Did you?
I did. I played all the way through, coach pitch all the way through 14. And then when I went to high school and graduated, and I was watching one of my nephews umpire a game, or play a game, and I said, I really want to get involved in this. So I called a friend of mine, Doug Bryson, and said, how do I join your board? And he said, we only have 6 board members. Come to any board meeting, you're on the board. And the rest is history. It was 25 years ago. I've been on the board for 25 years. So.
Wow, and you were president for how long?
10.
10 years.
10 years.
Seems like forever.
It seemed like forever. Saw a lot of kids grow through there.
So WABL was established in 1954, before either of you were even born. So what actually is WABL?
WABL is a recreational baseball and softball league. We just provide a place for kids to play ball.
Okay, and I know it's baseball, softball, and t-ball, but did it start out just as baseball?
It started just as baseball. Originally just as baseball, and then softball came in 1978, I believe. The year was 78.
Okay, and then t-ball was added even later?
T-ball, we took over t-ball from the city of Akron. They couldn't handle it. It was too big for them. They had just not enough manpower to handle it. And we took over t-ball. I think it was, I want to say 10 years ago. I'm not exactly sure on that, but it's new to us.
Yeah.
Still new to us, really.
Yep.
Sure. So you grew up playing WABL. Are you from Akron?
I am not. I am from northwestern Ohio. I moved to Akron 20 years ago for grad school and just established my career here. So that's how I got involved.
Very nice.
So.
Very good. Okay, and so what made you decide to take the leap from playing to coaching to then being on the board?
I would say, I grew up playing baseball. It's my first love. And I just realized that the kids, more than anything, they need to be loved, and also to have some organization for further improvement in the ball. We at WABL, we strive to play ball, have fun, and improve. And we are a recreational league, and that's where we will always be. A lot of other leagues are possibly going toward a more travel route. We are a recreational league for everyone to get their feet wet and grow up through the system.
Sure. Why is it important to be a recreational league?
Because, in my opinion, it's because most kids and families don't want to get involved in the higher level play. Most kids just want to play ball.
Sure.
And WABL provides that for kids. It's been great for us.
So having been a parent of a WABL, 3 WABL kids that went through WABL and travel ball, my kids played travel ball as well, there's the expense factor too.
Right.
I mean, you go from recreation ball, where it's pretty nominal to join, to travel ball where it is extremely expensive.
Yep.
And then there's the traveling and the
Right.
hotels and yes, the play is very competitive, but the expense is out of league for a lot of people.
You can spend tens of thousands of dollars in a summer.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. What is the cost at Wobble, and what do you do? What if someone can't even afford Wobble?
Well, the cost is for many years, since 1997, it was $95. We just had a cost increase this year for the first time. So now we're up over that $100. What are we? I don't even remember.
I think we're at 115 for most leagues. 150. We kept the highest level at the steady. But
So you're in at $115 to play.
A whole summer.
Yes. And what was the second part of the question? I forget.
What if somebody can't even afford that?
We have player scholarships. So we have, my aunt is one of them, but we have people that donate money throughout the year.
Sure.
Just send a check to Wobble and just make a donation. And we generally gear those towards player scholarships. And we probably award 5 or 6 a year.
5 or 6 a year.
Yeah.
So there's availability for every kid to play.
Yeah. And again, so this was my bad. I thought this was a West Akron Baseball League. I know it's called that, but you will take kids from outside of West Akron?
We did once the other rec leagues around the city started shutting down. That's when we started opening up our borders up a little more. We don't actively recruit outside of West Akron, but we don't turn anybody away.
No,
Right.
a couple of years ago, I was coaching a team, was dropping off pictures, and you would think everyone's in West Akron, which the majority are, but I was going to Ellett, I was going to Goodyear Heights, I was going to Kenmore. So
Wow.
it truly is a league for
city.
all the city boys and girls.
So what is the most important thing do you think Wobble teaches kids besides the fundamentals of baseball and softball and t-ball?
Being part of a team, being part of something bigger than themselves, how they work with others, that sometimes they have friends on the team. Lots of times these are kids they're meeting for the first time, and building those relationships with people that they don't know, but by the end of the season they're friends with.
Right.
And that's that's one of the greatest things I love to see. That first practice, everyone's kind of to themselves. End of the season, everyone's clowning around. They got 10 new friends.
Sure.
So
It was a big thing a few years ago to piggyback off that. We started redrafting our rosters every single year, and people were nervous about doing that because of what he just said. You play
Sure.
with your friends and you get comfortable. Well, we said, well, this is a great opportunity to meet new kids and play with new kids.
Right.
So I think that's a great part of Wobble as well.
It's funny because one of my daughters played way back with your daughter,
Yeah.
and we just reconnected with an old teammate that works at Bagel Place.
Oh, nice.
We just went in there and saw her, and we're like, Cheyenne, oh my
yeah.
God, you remember
I
Cheyenne?
remember Cheyenne.
Yeah.
She was fast.
Really fast, yeah. But there's someone that we would never have known. She was from a different part of
Right.
town, came in, and just lovely. So, again, how do you let people know they can join despite not having funds to do so? Or do you just...
A lot of times it's a phone call. Like they'll
Yeah.
call and they'll say, hey, we don't have the funds right now. Is it okay if we pay,
Sure.
monthly, or if we pay later?
Yeah.
And then I'll offer up, or we'll offer up the suggestion that we have scholarships.
So what do you do if someone wants to play but they don't even own a glove or cleats or things like that?
we do, especially at our in-person sign-up, we have a collection of well-loved gloves, bats, things that we can offer to them to help.
Awesome.
Like last year's, I remember three new players got new gloves at the thing, and it's just
That's
a lot of
awesome.
people are cognizant that if they outgrow it but still has life in it, let's pass it down to younger generations who maybe don't have that good glove.
Or cleats.
Cleats
is
too,
another
yeah.
one. Everybody
Yeah.
gets cleats every year because their kids outgrow them, or
Right.
they want the newest ones.
So I have a collection at home of lots of gear, I'm sure, including catcher's gear that I'm sure you guys could use.
Catcher's gear is probably the most expensive piece of equipment
Yes.
you have to buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just invested a ton of money into catcher's gear.
We
last
did.
So I might have some for you guys
Yeah,
that,
wonderful.
that I can pass on.
Good.
So maybe if anybody else has
Yeah.
any, they can get a
Yes.
hold of
Correct.
Wobble and
Yes.
donate to Wobble, because that would be
Absolutely.
great. So our kids grew up playing Wobble together. And it's not just about learning the fundamentals of baseball and softball. You've always made it about developing kids. Tell me about that.
The reason I started coaching and the reason I got into all of this was because I had a coach that wasn't about wasn't what I liked. Wasn't my style of being coached.
Sure.
Yeller, not nice. And I vowed that I'm going to get into coaching just so no kid has to be coached that way. And that's why I got into it.
And then how do you vet coaches for Wobble? So that you don't have other coaches that are not yellers, or do you have?
We do run background checks on all official coaches,
Sure.
so that is one barrier. Just talking about the community too, there's been people say, I know this person, I don't know if they're a best fit for a coach. Well, at the end of the day, coaches are volunteers, so
Sure.
But we do background checks on coaches to make sure there's nothing that would be put any child at risk.
Right.
We also have we partner with the Positive Coaching Alliance,
Yeah.
and our coaches sit through a 1-hour workshop every year.
Nice.
It's a mandatory workshop that they have to sit through, and it just goes through the fundamentals of coaching,
Awesome.
how to build the double goal coach of creating the athlete and the kid, that kind
Yes.
of thing. So
Yes. So I want to remind our viewers and those who may have joined late that we're here with Mike Deese and Matt Timbrook from the West Akron Baseball League, and we're discussing the success of Wobble and its importance in developing kids. So parents can get pretty competitive,
Yes.
right?
Parents are the competitive ones.
Especially
Not
when
the
it
kids.
comes to their kids and sports, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Have you had issues with parents during games, and how do you handle that?
Yes. I
Yeah.
can remember 2 years ago, we were in a championship game. One of the umpires made a questionable call, and one of my parents, who actually hadn't been around most of the season, started yelling at the umpire. And I stepped out and said, the individual's name, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but please sit down. I think being respectful to them while
Sure.
knowing that, hearing what they're saying. At the beginning of every season, I sit down with the parents and say, listen, if we're not yelling at the umpires, we're not going to be that type of team. And that's through all of Wobble. That's something we stress.
Right.
But if you have complaints, bring them to me. I will bring them to the umpire. And that was just setting parent expectations at the beginning helps everything go quite a bit smoother.
Right.
It also helps when the parents will act how the coaches act. So when you have a coach that's going to act like a yeller and a screamer and an arguer, the parents are going to piggyback off of that.
Sure.
If you have a coach that doesn't do that stuff, generally the parents aren't going to be the ones to cause a problem, in general.
Any advice for parents who may get a little too emotional?
Take a deep breath and watch your kid play ball.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, love them,
Yeah.
watch them play, but at the end of the day, there's no scholarships being handed out, just have fun. They
Yeah.
will your child will probably not remember if they won or lost, but they will remember an embarrassing scene that you have caused. So
I remember when I was coaching in G League, this is 11 and 12-year-olds, and we had this rivalry with this other team. And we beat them. We beat them every time we played them. They were good. We were good. We were 19-1 on the season, so they beat us in the regular season
Sure.
once. We beat them twice in the regular season, and we met up in the championship game on
Right.
Day of Champs. Well, in that season, we played a really intense game. I think we won 5-3, and the coaches were going back and forth. I'm yelling at him, he's yelling at me, and it's just like, what are we doing here? We looked out on the field, and all the kids are playing together. And at that point, I said to the coach, I won't say his name, I said, look at these guys. Why are we doing this?
And
they
they're
don't
having
care.
fun.
They don't care. Well, why are we arguing? So
yeah.
that's
So you have some pretty unique signs on the fields, don't you?
yes. I can't think of it right now. But yes, the support signs, the green ones.
Yeah.
The poem.
Oh yeah.
Your
yeah.
kid's not going to be a.
He's just a little girl, or she's just a little girl, and he's just a little boy, and it's a nice thing that we have.
It's very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah.
And I think it's a reminder to parents
Right.
and to umpires and to coaches on why you're there.
It
Like
is, and
these-
we also have signs from the Positive Coaching Alliance hanging at each one of our dugouts too. That says that's a reminder of why we're here, why we honor the game.
That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, not everywhere has that. I
Right.
can
Yeah.
tell you. I've been to a lot of fields around a lot of states.
It's
So-
really important to us.
Yeah.
So there's been a shortage of umpires in the past few years. Why do you think that is?
I would say people don't like being yelled at. Taking the time out of their professional lives to umpire and then get possibly questioned, or I think it kind of lends itself to the parents. I would say in Wobble, I feel like our umpires are respected, and there's not as much of that you hear about in other communities.
Right.
But I would say it's just people feel more that they can yell at the umpire for a bad call, when that's something that we stress in our coaches meeting. We're not screaming at umpires.
Right.
We're just not. You can go up to them, object to a call, but we're doing it respectfully.
Very good. Have you had any trouble getting umpires like everybody else, or has it been okay?
Generally, at the highest, at the oldest age groups, we're pretty solid at having umpires.
Okay.
And I would say there were very few games this last year, I think, at any level that we were umpireless. Especially the last couple of years, I think our umpires have been about 100%.
Do you teach some of the kids to be umpires for the younger groups?
We do. We have a very good coordinator umpires.
Good.
John Anderson's his name, and he has a training session for all of our umpires, and he'll take kids to games, and we'll have a lot of coaches. I don't know if it's still the same, but when I coached, coaches would help the umpires too a little bit. I don't know if it's still the same or not, but I think that there's some good training for our kids.
Yes.
Very good. So Mike, baseball may not run in your blood, but it does run in a close family member of yours.
It does.
Yes.
Yes.
Who grew up in Major League Baseball. Who might that be?
Missy, my wife, is the daughter of Mike Hargrove.
Yes. So I've seen Mike Hargrove, your father-in-law, at Wobble games, cheering his granddaughters on. Did that ever intimidate you?
Never. It never did.
I mean,
It never did.
it intimidated me.
No, it never did, and I think it's a little different because I've known them for 30 years.
Sure.
So, no, I was never intimidated. There were always things that I would ask him, but not coaching things. I would always ask him umpire and rule type things.
Sure.
Just to be clear on.
So tell me who Mike Hargrove is for people who may not know.
If you don't know. Mike played and managed the Indian. He was Rookie of the Year in 1974 with the Texas Rangers.
Yep.
And then he was traded to Cleveland in '78, I believe. And then he played for the Indians until '86, and then he managed from 1993 all the way to, I think, '99.
Yeah, so when I would look over and see him sitting in the stands cheering on his granddaughters playing softball, I mean, it was the best. I mean, truly, to see him do that. And, you'd think he'd be yelling calls and all that, but he was having the time of his life watching his grandkids. And I think that's what everybody should take as an example.
Right, I agree.
It was
They were very good about, Mike and Sharon both were very good about that.
Yeah.
I think Sharon, when it comes down to it, Sharon would be the yeller more than Mike would.
Well, I mean, we can relate to that in my family, too. I was more the yeller than my husband, so I get it. So where are the Wobble fields located, and do you own or rent, or how does that work?
Our fields are primarily all in West Akron, obviously. We have a couple that most are city city schools or city parks. We have the location at the JCC. We have the West Baptist
Church.
Yes. I believe
Erie Island.
Erie Island, yeah.
City parks, City of Akron parks, Forest Lodge, Erie Island, Hardesty Park. That's about it.
Yeah.
I think we have 9 or 10 fields.
10.
So it seems like the city really supports Wobble.
They do.
With their using their fields and things like that. And you have collaborations with several community organizations, the Rubber Ducks, the JCC. Can you tell me about those relationships?
The Rubber Ducks one is really good. They've been, Ken and Jim down there at Canal Park, they've been great for us.
Yeah.
We upgraded a field at Forest Lodge, and
Right.
the Rubber Ducks donated some money for that, and it's named Rubber Ducks Field at Forest Lodge. Their hot stove banquet, we're the beneficiary of that again this year.
That's awesome.
So it's awesome. They've been great, and the JCC relationship has been the same thing.
Right.
It's been great over the years with, I forget the guy's name. It's been so long.
John Kiefer Camp.
No.
Before that?
Was there a Mark?
There's a Mike.
I can't remember.
Okay.
It's been so long
Yeah.
that we started using that field again that I can't remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember the guy's
The one
name.
thing about the JCC field, it puts everything in perspective. Whenever I've played there, as soon as the game's over, my kids are playing on the playground.
Oh, good.
And so it's a good reminder that it's for the kids.
Yeah. And that happened at other fields, at city fields.
right.
The kids would run to
Yeah.
the playground after. Like,
Shoot.
no matter what team you were
Right.
on, they were running
Right.
their,
I coached a G League team one year, and I had a kid that wasn't in the game currently, and I went to go put him in the game in the third inning. He's at the playground at Hardesty Park.
Yeah. So, Mike, you've given your time and talent to Wobble for many, many years, but your family has a history of giving back as it relates to sports in general. Can you tell me about that little wrestling thing that your family's involved
A
in?
little wrestling thing, yeah. goes back to the 70s. My grandfather started the Ohio Youth Wrestling, co-founded the Ohio Youth Wrestling Association. It was all because my uncle got into wrestling, and my grandpa had no idea what it was. And
Right.
he said, well, he's just like us. That's where you get your involvement in community stuff. He said, well, Netta, my grandma, I guess we got to learn wrestling, and started the Ohio Youth Wrestling Association. Then that has carried on. My dad took it over when my grandfather was sick and passed away in 1987. My dad took it over, and it's just been a family affair between all my uncles and aunts and cousins.
And there's a big Deese wrestling tournament.
The Bill Deese Memorial Wrestling
yeah.
Tournament. Yeah. That's in 2 weeks, actually.
Pretty exciting.
It's coming up. 36 teams.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. So for each of you, what's been the most rewarding part of being involved in Wobble?
I would say, not having grown up in Akron, Wobble, the coaching the kids, being part of the Wobble board has kind of integrated me into the community more. I've no more families, no more kids. Oftentimes I'll go to my son's school and I'll have kids come up to me, hey coach, I coached them 3 years ago, they still call me coach.
That's great.
So I would say it's a great integrator into the community, learning about other people, and just making new friends. It's a really great organization for that.
That's great.
I like the community aspect of Wobble the most. I think Wobble is special that it's Wobble. I mean, that everybody knows. You say Wobble, you can't go.
Yeah.
You can go anywhere in the country, and you're probably going to run into somebody that played in Wobble.
It's true.
At some point. In fact, I was in Arizona visiting my in-laws. Me and my wife were, and we walked into a restaurant, and there was a picture of Art. Geez, I can't think of his last name right now. He's the only Major League Baseball player that ever played in Wobble.
So really?
He's the only one from
That's
Wobble.
pretty exciting.
Yeah, and his picture was on this, in Tucson, Arizona, was on the wall, and
That's
he played
awesome.
for the White Sox. Art, I can't think of his name right now.
Tell me a heartwarming story from Wobble.
Oh goodness.
Well, I have one off the
I
top
know.
of my head.
I know. I've heard them through the years. So,
H-League championship game. We're playing, and I had this rotation where I always gave a kid a chance on the infield and the outfield. And if you're an outfielder, that doesn't mean you're there the whole game. Well, we're playing in the championship game. It's a real tight game, and it was Caleb's turn to come to third base.
I know Caleb.
Caleb Blodgett.
Yeah.
He come to third base. And my dad, my brother, and my other assistant coach were like, you're not putting him there. This is game's on the line. I said, he's going there. I said,
That's what we do.
He's going there. Long story short, because I know we're short on time, but line drive was hit to third base. He catches it, steps on third, double play. We got out of the inning.
Oh, my God.
And his eyes were this wide coming off the field. And fast forward to when he's in college. Now, he was 10 years old at that time. So fast forward 8 years, he reached out to me. He wrote his college thesis on that.
Because, oh, my gosh.
Because he thought there was no chance he was going into third base in the championship game, and how that changed him as a kid and as a person.
Built his confidence.
Built his confidence, and yeah.
That's
the
amazing.
one thing that I always think of when.
That is, I semifinal game playoffs a couple years ago. I had gone through my two strongest pitchers, but my second pitcher had a pitch count issue, and we make sure we don't overpitch any of our players. And he came in very fast but very wild in a high pressure situation, bottom of the seventh, last inning. He needed a strikeout, gets to a full count. He's the type of kid that would get down on himself. I went out there, hey, just do what you do. And he went out there and struck him out. And like it's like a movie climatic ending, going on to the finals.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Those are good stories. So my favorite thing you guys give out is the Spirit of Wobble Award. Mm-hmm. And my kids have gotten it. I know friends' kids that have gotten it. What is the Spirit of Wobble Award, and why? I mean, I really think that is what Wobble's about.
I agree.
So tell me about it.
Yeah, so it's not just the best player, and it's what player, who's the leader among boys, among girls, who is everyone going out to, who respects the coaches, who respects the umpires, plays the game, quote unquote, the right way. That's what we look for in each of our age groups. It's a number of criteria. It's also that feeling. Who's the kid that you can rely on? Who's the kid that does everything right? Mm-hmm. And you try to reward that behavior.
Yeah.
That's great. The Spirit of Wobble is great.
It is the best. If you could give one piece of advice to youth today, what would it be?
To the youth?
Yeah, to the youth.
Just play ball.
Yeah.
Just love the game and play ball.
Be involved. Just have fun with your friends, be involved. You don't know, you may not be good the first year, but by year 4, maybe you're actually pretty darn good at it, and you won't know unless you do it.
And I assume that doesn't just apply to baseball and softball and t-ball. Play something, be involved in sports, the team aspect. I mean, how you relate to coaches, how you to adults. I mean, how you relate to your coach carries on to how you relate to adults later.
There's a lot of lessons
teachers,
to be learned through sports.
No doubt, no doubt. So I want to thank you, Mike and Matt. It went fast, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It did.
For the great discussion about the West Akron Baseball League. My kids really grew up and learned a lot from playing in Wobble, and I'm really happy the league is thriving. Thank you for all you do for our community. I certainly learned a lot today, and I know our viewers did too. And before we leave, when are signups?
Now.
Right now?
Yep.
Now.
So if you want to sign up for Wobble, you can be anywhere in Akron area. Go on to where?
Wobble.org, WABL.org.
Got it? I'm Stephanie York. Thank you for joining us today on Forum 360 for a global outlook with a local view.
Forum 360 is brought to you by John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, the Akron Community Foundation, Hudson Community Television, the Rubber City Radio Group, Shaw Jewish Community Center of Akron, Blue Green, Electric Impulse Communications, and Forum 360 supporters.